So firstly, I just want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. I am overwhelmed with the amount of support that Coburn Place is receiving. Whether you donate your time, money, or even furniture and kitchen supplies, the families at Coburn Place really appreciate you guys. My story started in 2015. I was 19, and I had just moved into an apartment with my one-year-old daughter, Maya. This was my first time living completely on my own. I had just graduated high school in the top 10 of my class and was the youngest real estate assistant hired by Arbor Homes. Life was going great. I was establishing my independence and creating a life I wanted for me and my daughter. The only thing I felt that was missing was a man to share it with. It was in April that I was rushing into Walmart and a man spotted me from the parking lot and came running towards me. "Bree, you stopped responding to me." And as rushed as I was, I continued to run inside, not realizing that the man yelling to me in the parking lot was the same guy who had been messaging me constantly on Facebook. When I came out, he was standing by my car waiting for me. At the time, I was flattered that not only did this man recognize me simply from Facebook photos, but that he would wait for me just to talk to me. Looking back, this was not fate, nor was it romantic in any way. When I think back on these first days, my stomach turns, because like many young girls, I had no idea what a red flag even meant, and this man was showing every single one of them. Within 24 hours, he was sleeping on my couch. In fact, after the first day, he never even left. Within the first few weeks, we became very attached. My daughter, whose father was not involved in her life at the time, was now attached to this man, constantly clinging to him and even crying when he would leave. He was everything we both wanted. He bought me and my daughter flowers on Wednesdays. He never left us for long. In fact, he took us everywhere he went. He even sat at my work with me. After only 2 months of dating, he convinced me to quit my job so that he could use my car to find work. So I did. I quit my job to begin to stay at home with my daughter while he job searched. It sounded great. To have a man so overly in love with you that he wants you every second and even wants you to quit his job so that he can take care of you. But I began to realize that he didn't want to be with me every second because he loved me, but because he didn't trust me. He didn't want me to not work so that he could take care of me, but so that he could control me. He then began to speak about having a child. He already had 3, but if we just had one of our own, it would make everything complete, wouldn't it? "Don't I treat your daughter like she's my own," he would tell me. As much as I insisted that I didn't want another child, he continued to push, refusing to use condoms or the pull-out method we had originally been using. The same month my daughter turned 2, I found out we were expecting. He was over the moon, convincing me that giving him a child would complete the life that he was trying to complete for us. Shortly after finding out I was pregnant, he began to be even more controlling. I decided we needed to break up and figure out this whole parenting stuff later. We broke up for less than a week, where we began to do the immature rebound one-night stand. Me with the guy I went to high school with, and him with my friend. That same week, he called me well over 100 times, and even showed up to my apartment, promising me that he wanted a family, and he was just overwhelmed with all the life changes. He had just got accepted at a new job that paid fairly well. He told me if I got my back with him, he could support us. Within 3 months, we could rent a bigger home together, he said. Not even 2 weeks after starting his new job, I began to feel like a prisoner in my own home. He drove me to my best friend's house and told her that I couldn't be her friend anymore. He insisted that I didn't see my family because they didn't like him. He even stopped letting me go to the grocery store alone. My Prince Charming was turning into my biggest nightmare. And I had lost everything from money to support to self-confidence to save me from this downward spiral. It was a late night in October, shortly after us getting back together, that he began to become enraged about us breaking up. I remember insisting to him that if it was that big of a deal, then we should just break up. I didn't want to be with him anymore anyways. That night, he busted my lip open in the car and began to strangle me. My daughter watching everything from the back seat. I remember waking up about halfway home, and my first instinct was to call my mom. And he took my phone from my hands and threw it out the window. When we were home, I took my daughter to the bathroom to try and calm her down by brushing her teeth. She really liked to brush her teeth. When he came in, I remember insisting to him that if he was going to hit me again, to please just put my daughter in the other room. Instead, he sat her on the bathroom counter and began to choke me again, telling me that I wasn't good enough to have his child, and I was lucky that he doesn't kill me or black my eye. For what felt like hours, I was curled up on the bathroom floor in the fetal position, screaming and begging him not to kill our baby. This baby that I didn't even want to be pregnant with in the first place. I was now fighting for his chance at life. He finally agreed that he wouldn't, as long as I got an abortion in the morning. Maybe if you act right, I will give you a child one day, he told me. Then he put my daughter to sleep, not even really allowing me to comfort her, and ordered me in the room to please him, blood still falling from my lips. The next morning, I packed me and my daughter up and we left to my mother's house, who instantly saw my lip and the bruises on my neck. Not knowing how many times he hit my stomach, we went to the emergency room. I spent the next 7 months of my pregnancy sharing a twin bed with my 2-year-old daughter in a domestic violence shelter. I think this was the hardest time in my life because I felt trapped. I personally didn't believe that abortion would be an option that I could live with, but I also knew I didn't want another child. I began to go to abortion counseling and contacting adoption agencies. During my stay at the shelter, instead of taking the time to heal, I did what many women do and mask the pain with another man. He understood my pain, he claimed, because he watched his mother be abused while growing up. He started going with me to the ultrasounds. When I was hospitalized for the stomach flu, he was the only one who never left my side. He too began to show warning signs that I would overlook. 3 months before my due date, I decided that I was going to keep my baby, who I named Mason Kai Taylor. Kai meaning strong and unbreakable, because every odd had been against him. My new boyfriend rushed to the hospital with me when I went into labor. He cut Mason's umbilical cord, and I felt all of that domestic violence stuff begin to page in my past. Not even 12 hours after Mason was born, my boyfriend wanted me to perform oral sex in the hospital room. When I didn't, insisting that I was still hurting from the delivery and wanting to snuggle my new baby, he threw an entire bag of food on top of us. I remember my first instinct being to call for security. Sorry. But then I thought about the nurses' faces and my parents who would surely be disappointed that once again I couldn't make a man happy, nor could I choose a man who would be good to me and my kids. At this point, I was convinced that something was wrong with me, and I promised myself that no matter how bad it got, I would stay. And it did get bad. He began telling my daughter that I was a bad mommy when we would fight. He would take my son from me and make me do whatever it was that he wanted just to hold him again. But despite these things, I pretended to be so madly in love with him because I didn't want anyone to know that I failed again. About 10 days after Mason was born, I got the call from Miss Jacqueline at Coburn Place. It had an opening for me and my kids. I was so scared because my boyfriend didn't want me to go. He told me he wanted us to get a house together. But I quickly decided that Coburn Place was going to become my safe place, not just for me, but for my children. When we moved in, our house was already decorated. I remember crying for hours the first time we came into our apartment. I also remember being so afraid to sleep in my own room that I would sit up at my front desk and talk to whoever was working the night shift. While at Coburn Place, I still kept contact with my boyfriend, but I began to attend every class Coburn Place had to offer. In those classes, we talked about red flags, boundaries, the cycle of abuse, all these things I had never been taught before. It all began to make sense, and it hit me that I had fallen into a cycle of domestic violence, and if I didn't stop it, my kids would be the ones to bear the burden. So So I began to break up with my boyfriend, 5 times actually. Each time I came back out of fear. He stole my car, he called CPS on me, and finally, he gave me my first black eye. Coburn Place helped me call the police. I remember crying in our DV support group the night before our scheduled court date, telling them that I wasn't going to court against this man. He's crazy, I told them. And it seemed like no matter how many times I insisted that he would ruin my life, they told me this was the reason I needed to go to court the next morning. That night after group, close to 9 p.m., I had a knock on my door with Miss Nicole from the front desk saying my advocate, Miss Jacqueline, was on the phone for me. Miss Jacqueline said, "Hi, Brianna, you're going to court tomorrow and I'm coming with you." And I remember feeling such a sense of security that I just stopped fighting. I said, "Okay," and the next morning we went to court. Before we even made it to the courtroom, my ex saw me and quickly jumped on the same elevator with us. Miss Jacqueline was the only person standing between us, not even realizing that she was becoming a barrier of protection for me. And at this point, I finally felt like I had someone who wasn't afraid to protect me. Miss Jacqueline went to every court date with me. And even when Mason's father turned himself in after being on the run for over a year, she never missed a court date. She sat next to me during both sentencing and never made me feel guilty or belittled. I know that without a doubt, if I didn't go to Coburn Place, I would have kept that vow to myself and stayed with a man who was hurting me. I also know, without a doubt, that I never would have taken the time to truly heal and process all of the events in my life. While at Coburn Place, even though I had my drawbacks and my dark times, I've made a lot of successes. I decided that I had a passion to be the light for women stuck in the same darkness that I was. The same way that Miss Jacqueline, Miss Tia, Miss Kimberly, Miss Dolly, Miss Shantae, Miss Lynn, Miss Andrea, and many other women working at Coburn Place were a light for me. While at Coburn Place, I did things I never thought I would do in a million years. I went back to school full-time for human services and have made the dean's list every semester. I began taking my children to church and got baptized last summer. I paid off my addiction, and I went from a 99 Oldsmobile to a 2013 Kia Sportage. I have my LLCs now and currently work with 3 different companies while striving to one day fulfill my goal to open my own transitional apartment for women and children leaving domestic violence. I believe that there is a common misconception that places like Coburn Place just help the victim. But I believe that I am a testimony that Coburn Place saves entire generations. Because of them, my son never had to experience the harsh realities of a domestic violence shelter. And both of my children were given a chance to live in a safe place just for them. Coburn Place gave me the opportunity to restore my children's innocence. My daughter no longer cries at night and asks me why my boyfriend is being mean to me and tells me I should apologize. My son is no longer used as bribery to do things I don't want to do. When I first came to Coburn Place, I could have named a million things I loved before I would have ever even considered to name myself. Today, I can confidently say that not only do I love myself, but I know who I am, what I want, and what I will not tolerate. I also am confident in myself, my past journey, and where I have yet to travel. Coburn Place has allowed me the cushion that I needed to not only heal, but to begin my life and become the person and mother that I always planned to become. Thank you.
So I was telling Brianna, you have to enjoy the paparazzi. Please stand again, because she walked off too early. So she didn't know she was supposed to stand and enjoy the moment, because this is truly, in a sense, this is tough stuff, as you would know. This is a profile of courage, someone bearing their soul to a bunch of strangers, and hopefully inspiring you with her story. So can we just give her and her family